If you work hard for 8 hours a day, it is quite likely that you will eventually be made a boss, and you will sit in the office around the clock. When I hear the phrase, "one must build a career," I am reminded of an old anecdote about a European who saw a native sleeping peacefully under a palm tree on a beach and began to lecture the guy. "Aren't you, a young man full of strength, ashamed to be lying around on the sand?" "And what should I be doing?" The Aborigine was surprised. "Go and study." The Boer did not hesitate to answer. "What for?" The inhabitant of the coconut country inquired. "You will get a diploma, find an excellent job." The white man painted a rosy picture. "What for?" The young man did not understand. "You will save money for your old age." The teacher did not calm down. "What for?" The guy stubbornly repeated. "You will accumulate capital, go to a warm sea, lie down under a palm tree, and rest." The mentor condescendingly concluded his teaching. "But I am already lying under a palm tree," the islander laughed. The anecdote ends here. What the European said next to the happy native, and whether they were able to understand each other, remained unknown. I turned on my side and tried to pull the heavy blanket over my head. No, our state is structured incorrectly. Young people want to have fun, find a partner, and the elderly are bored at home. They dream of working. Pensions should be given from the age of 18 to 40, and only then, please, serve until 90. It is then that a large number of problems will be solved at once. We will make the old people happy and prolong their lives. In my deep conviction, a person dies when they feel their own uselessness. You've been seen off to a well-deserved retirement. The children are working. The grandchildren have grown up. Goodbye, grandmother. Life no longer has meaning. But if an old woman has to be in the office by 9, then she will have completely different feelings. "Tanechka." It came from the window. "Are you sleeping?" I grumbled. "Yep." "And why are you gallivanting about?" "Such a gorgeous May," the voice from the street chattered on. "It's warm, like in August. Well, look out the window. Here is an illustration for the thoughts that were spinning in my head a second ago. In the garden stands 70-year-old Raisa Andreevna Zviagina. She spent most of her life in an accounting department, first clicking on an abacus, then a calculator. Eventually even mastered a computer and was honorably sent into retirement 10 years ago. Raisa's 2 children were already living their own lives, in which there was no place for their mother. Her grandchildren did not need a grandmother, and her husband died early. Raiechka did not have special savings to travel to different countries, like pensioners from the West. But she owned a small dacha on the lakeshore, and, having left her city apartment to her daughter Tamara, Zviagina moved to the Moscow suburbs. At first, Raisa tried to lead a rural lifestyle, dug up the land for greens, got flowers, 2 cats, dutifully watched TV series, read newspapers, books, and then she realized she was bored and sad all alone. The children visited rarely, as if fulfilling an obligation, and rolled back to Moscow. The grandchildren didn't visit at all. They were not in the least enticed by rural pleasures. Another woman would have started demanding her rights, reminding her daughter that she had left her a good 3-room apartment, and her son Oleg about the zhiguli she had given him, would have demanded love, attention, and respect in return. But Raisa Andreevna reasoned differently. You can't force love, and it's not right for the old to devour the lives of the young. Zviagina remembered that she knew how to cook delicious food, assessed the size of her little dacha, and posted an advertisement on the internet. A small hotel on the lakeshore invites those who want to spend a vacation like in childhood. Banya, fishing, mushrooms berries, a bicycle, and food from grandma. Price by agreement. Demand exceeded supply. There were only 2 empty rooms in the house, and there were far more people wanting them. And so her successful business began. Now Zviajina has a hotel with 30 rooms, and most of the guests have become friends of Raisa Andreevna and help her with various issues. Zviajina maintains the family spirit of the hotel. Food can be had here at any time of day. You just need to go down to the kitchen, where the lovely Nadezhda Fyodorovna, a pensioner, a former kindergarten cook, officiates. The food at the hotel is simple: kasha, sirniki, borscht, kotleti, cabbage pies, keks. Nadezhda Fyodorovna cooks as if she is still running the catering unit for toddlers. You won't get any spicy arugula with giant shrimps in pesto sauce here, but for many former Soviet people, a bun with pavodlo is dearer than tiramisu, and macaroni poflatsky are tastier than spaghetti bolognese. True, once a month Nadezhda Fyodorovna goes to Moscow for 3 days, visits a doctor who gives her injections, but then Raisa herself takes to the stove, who fries delightful kotleti and prepares an amazing herring under a fur coat. The role of chambermaids here is given to sprightly girls who have celebrated their 60th birthday, and men of the same age category help with the housekeeping. Bed linens and towels at the hotel are not changed every day, but the rooms are perfectly clean. And the staff also loves to instruct the guests. For example, "It's windy outside. Where are you headed in a sarafan? Come back, throw on a sweater." In theory, such a hotel is doomed. Nowadays, people are spoiled by service. But here is the strange thing. Zviajina's waiting list is full. Raisa Andreevna has to turn some people down, but there are people for whom she always finds a spot. And my boss, Cheslav, is one of them. I don't know what connects the boss with the old lady, but when the chief called her and asked, "Be a dear, take in my employee Tanya Sergeyeva for the May holidays," she answered, "No problem. Let her come any time." I took advantage of her kind offer and settled not in the main building, but in the owner's house. "Well, first of all, the big house is full of people," she explained her decision. "Secondly, I keep my close friends near me. And thirdly, I need to consult with you. You work with Cheslav, and he said, 'Tanya is my best asset. She can see 7 meters under the ground.' He was overpraising me." I got flustered, and only then was taken aback. "Well, I'll be. Raisa Andreevna knows that Cheslav leads a team for solving particularly dangerous crimes. This information is classified. All my neighbors and acquaintances think I'm a simple secretary." Taking note of what I heard, I asked a stupid question. "Are products disappearing from your kitchen? Or has one of the guests complained about theft?" Raisa Andreevna waved her hands dismissively. "Of course not. This is exclusively about my problem. Lately, every evening, a badger or a raccoon comes to me. I don't really know much about animals. Quite large, fluffy, and very talkative. You could set a mouse trap," I suggested. "For this skunk," Zviajina frowned, "I don't want to take its life. I just want it to leave. Otherwise, it caws and caws and caws." I thought I had misunderstood the landlady and asked, "A badger? I thought they snort, sniffle, breathe noisily. Crows are the ones that caw." "I was speaking allegorically," Raisa explained. "The raccoon talks a lot, predicts trouble, promises me nasty things." I started coughing, and the landlady frowned. "Do you think I'm crazy?" "Of course not," I answered quickly. "It's common for chipmunks, or whatever it is, to engage in long conversations." Raisa Andreevna sat down in the armchair. I tried to talk about this with my children. Tamara declared, "Mummy, at your age, you need to take pills. Let's go see a neurologist." My daughter is a delicate person. She was too embarrassed to send me to a psychiatrist. Oleg was more frank. He suggested I check into a clinic where they treat hallucinations with hypnosis. After that, I didn't confide in anyone else, although I did ask my staff a couple of times if they had seen anything unusual in the garden or the house. Like talking gophers. I shouldn't have asked. Now they make fun of me. But the raccoon does exist. I see and hear it. Constantly? I clarified. No, mostly in the evenings when people have quieted down, Raisa answered seriously. Help me catch it. Believe me, my mind is in perfect order. All right, I agreed. If you see this chipmunk, call me. It wears a little blue cap and white and red pants, Zviagina specified. Its paws and torso are covered in fur. A patriot, I sighed, dressed in the colors of the Russian tricolor. You don't believe me? Zviagina stated bitterly. I will catch the scoundrel myself and show everyone. I assured the old woman that I had had many soul-saving conversations with cockroaches in the kitchen and called Cheslov. Investigate the situation, the boss ordered after listening to my report. Do you think that sooner or later I will stumble upon an animal in the garden teasing the old woman? I couldn't resist. Zviagina is completely normal, and if she sees a beaver, it means it exists, the boss cut me off. In our unit, it is not customary to dispute the orders of superiors. But no one forbids expressing one's own opinion. Therefore, I stated, old age is no joy. Raisa Andreevna could have had a microstroke. It happens. People think that after a stroke, speech is necessarily impaired, a person is paralyzed, but sometimes all vital functions are preserved. Outwardly, the patient does not change and does not even suspect that they have suffered a serious illness on their feet, but small oddities appear in their behavior which those around them attribute to sclerosis. Investigate the problem in detail. Cheslov did not give in and disconnected. The following week, I cautiously questioned the hotel employees and came to a disappointing conclusion. Absolutely everyone knew about the beaver, raccoon, gopher, skunk. True, the chambermaid, the cook, and the rest of the staff called the quadruped by different names, but the essence did not change. Raisa Andreevna had spoken with each member of her team about the impudent mammal, which in plain Russian predicted to the hotel owner, "You will die soon. You don't have long to live." Zviagina asked the staff not to tell anyone about the raccoon, but how could she make them keep such news under their hats? Very soon, the entire staff was discussing in whispers, what will happen to the hotel when Raisa Andreevna finally goes completely crazy? Her children are lazy, the cook Nadezhda Fyodorovna informed me. The son sits in some office shuffling papers. It doesn't look like he's made a career. He comes here for the weekend and clears off to Moscow on Tuesday towards lunchtime. Apparently, he's not a particularly valuable employee, since no one is waiting for him at work. Probably, Oleg loves his mother very much, so he tries to spend more time with her, I mumbled. Nadezhda Fyodorovna put aside the skimmer. He started loving Raisa after the hotel began to turn a profit. Where was Oleshka when his mother was building the hotel? The whole thing started before my eyes. Zviagina was at the construction site from 7 in the morning in any weather. Prancing around night and noon, she was watching the workers. Neither Oleg nor his daughter, the beauty Tamarochka, poked their noses in here. The precious grandchildren, Misha and Yura, didn't remember their grandmother, didn't help with work, didn't give advice. For the opening, though, Tomka showed up, gawked at the hotel, and announced in front of everyone, "What a stupid thing you've done, Mom. Where did you scrounge up the money?" Raisa Andreevna answered her daughter honestly that she had taken out a loan and would pay it off with the profits. The cook took off her apron, sat down on a chair, and started talking even faster. You should have seen what happened to Tamara after those words. She started shaking as if she'd been electrocuted. She flew at her mother with her fists, screaming so loud our ears were ringing. "Mom, have you lost your mind? Nobody needs a shabby little village motel. The bank will take this house and the dacha and the Moscow apartment for the debts. I'll end up on the street. How did you dare to start this venture without consulting your children?" Great, huh? And never mind that the 3-room apartment belongs to Raisa. She got it from her enterprise back in the Soviet years, and the factory also allocated the dacha to Zviajina. Nadezhda Fyodorovna reached for her cup and, narrowing her eyes, said, "Tamara left and didn't show up again until the business took off. When Raya started raking in money with a shovel, the daughter, son, and grandkids appeared right away. The daughter-in-law hovers around here, calling her mother-in-law Mom. Do you think Zviajina's daughter is counting on a large inheritance?" I asked unceremoniously. Nadezhda Fyodorovna crossed herself with a broad gesture. "May the Lord grant Raisa to live to 100 and more. She has provided the whole district with work. Some she hired here to look after clients. Others grow vegetables for her, supply milk, curd, sour cream, eggs. The Kiselevs supply her with honey. The Lukyanovs work as laundrymen. Everyone is busy. The salary is good. 3 villages pray for Zviajina. If she dies, who will get the hotel?" "The children," I drew the obvious conclusion. "They will run the business." "Oh, what a disaster," the cook lamented. "Then in a month everything here will go to ruin. They'll buy up cars for themselves. Yura and Mishka have been begging their grandmother for cars for a long time. Oleg dreams of his own house. Veda, his wife, will grab a bunch of diamonds. Tamarka will squander her share. She's always looking for a man. How many times has she rolled up here with different guys, showed them the hotel, bragged about her mother's wealth, hoping her fortune would impress the suitors? But apparently she has a bitchy character. No one has taken the bait of the future inheritance yet. Raisa doesn't have a family, but a flock of vultures, sitting and waiting." "Sad," I agreed. "It often happens with the rich," stated Nadezhda Fyodorovna. "You lift a business from its knees, but there is no personal happiness. You unintentionally start to wonder if millions are necessary. Although, to be honest, I'm not sitting in front of the TV in my old age, but rushing around someone else's kitchen. My son is not particularly close. He went to Moscow to study, then got a job at a firm. Now he works abroad. Here, take a look." The cook opened her bag, took out a wallet from it, and showed me a photo tucked into a transparent pocket. A skinny, dark-haired man was looking at me, his face difficult to see because of the brim of a baseball cap. With one hand, he was hugging a slender blonde in a mini bikini, and with the other he was holding a little boy in rolled-up trousers. The background for the happy family was the ocean, with some people swimming in it. "My Ilyusha married an American," Nadezhda Fyodorovna rattled on. "He gave me a grandson. They called him Michael. Here, he sent a photo from that, Miami. He lives there. He earns well, has his own house, 2 cars, and a business with automobiles. Either he fixes them or sells them, I don't understand. He calls on New Year's, sends his greetings. It seems Ilya is quite well off," I noted. "He looks good. His wife is a beauty, a charming boy. Maybe you should go to him in the USA." Nadezhda Fyodorovna let out a long, "Oh, and what would I do there?" I don't speak the American language, and my daughter-in-law and Michael haven't learned Russian. What would I do? Sleep and eat? I can't do that. I'll quickly get tired of lying on the couch all day long. And they're not inviting me to their Miami. In general, these are my thoughts. Every family has its own skeletons. Raisa's children are money suckers, pulling rubles out of their mother. They don't love her, but they demonstratively show her honor and respect. My Ilyusha is an example to them, independent, has good money, truly loves me. But he has cut his mother off like a piece of dried skin. Although he sends packages, American-made, all right. I've been chattering on too much. Don't tell anyone about Raisa's eccentricities. The guests shouldn't know about them. If you live in her house, it means you're one of us, and you should understand. We all depend on Zviajina. Let her have tea with a badger for all we care. We won't bat an eye. But there's no need to scare the guests. After promising Nadezhda Fyodorovna not to discuss the talkative animal with anyone, I nevertheless began to watch Raisa closely, and very soon realized the cook was right. Zviajina's children and grandchildren had been staying with her since mid-April. Tamara, it's true, went to the city a couple of times, but judging by the bulky bags with logos of expensive Moscow boutiques, she was going shopping, not working in an office. Oleg went to work 4 days a week and then didn't stick his head out of his room on the second floor where he spent his time on the computer. But his wife, Vera, was constantly snooping around the house. One time I ran into her in the narrow corridor that led to the back door. In her hands, the beauty had a tape measure with which she was measuring the walls. At the sight of me, Vera got flustered and, clearly out of confusion, blurted out, "Someday this house will belong to Oleshka and me. We'll have to do repairs, so I'm calculating how much wallpaper will be needed." I had grown to love the sweet, hospitable, completely unselfish Raisa, so I got angry and said crossly, "It seems you expect to become an heiress in the near future, since you're drawing up an estimate." Vera realized she had said something stupid and quickly ran away, leaving behind a persistent scent of perfume, too expensive for the unemployed wife of a simple clerk. Then I became a witness to a conversation between Raisa Andreevna and her daughter. Don't think that I was eavesdropping on purpose. I was just walking and heard an angry exclamation from the bushes. "Mom, I really need it!" At that point, my curiosity got the better of me. I froze in place and then carefully parted the bushes and saw a bench on which Zviajina and her daughter were sitting with their backs to me. It should be mentioned here that Raisa Andreevna's plot is the very last in the village. It is distant from the main mass of plots, and one edge of it slopes down to the lake. The body of water is small but deep. The water in it is clean, flowing. Actually, to call a pit about 25 meters in diameter a lake is ridiculous. Rather, Zviajina has a large pond at her disposal. But I think the local residents envy Raisa Andreevna. The village stretches along the bank of the river. Each yard has access to the water. But only on Zviajina's plot does the Veselka River widen, and then it flows on, again turning almost into a thread. You could say that Raisa was lucky, but the northern side of her plot ends abruptly in a deep ravine. As soon as I arrived for my vacation, the locals strictly warned me, "Don't go beyond the gazebo. You could misstep, fall, and break your arms and legs." And they also recommended not to look into the flimsy structure of wooden boards once erected by Raisa Andreevna's husband. Its posts were wobbly from old age, and the owner just couldn't get around to fixing it. But it was right there, along the edge of the ravine, that beautiful flowers grow, the names of which I do not know. I wanted to decorate my room with a bouquet, so I headed to the dangerous place. "Come on, Mom," Tamara demanded. "You can't get anywhere without a car these days." "The boy isn't even 20 years old yet," answered Zviajina. "At his age, I got around wonderfully on the tram." "You might as well mention the horse-drawn cab," Tamara was indignant. "All students have their own cars now." "You don't say," Raisa was amazed. "And trams hardly run in Moscow anymore," the daughter added with poorly concealed anger. "They've been removed everywhere because of the traffic jams." "The metro is still there," the old woman parried. "And how much is needed for the jalopy?" 30,000, Tamara reported quickly. "Well, in principle, if I tighten my belt, then I can probably get the money," Raisa drew out. "But a car will require large expenses, gasoline, repairs. Where will Yura get the funds for maintenance?" "Oh, Mom, you're such a bore," the daughter laughed. "Well, you can't foresee everything. Why predict troubles right away? Here you are, saving up all your dough, not in a hurry to part with it, but what if a tsunami hits on Monday and wipes Moscow and the region off the face of the earth? Who will need your savings then?" "Well, that's unlikely," the hotel owner chuckled. "So you have no doubts about your own longevity and prosperity. But for your grandson, you're planning a force majeure?" Tamara got angry. "Yura is careful, understand. He's ashamed to walk when everyone else is on wheels. Girls don't pay attention to a guy without a car." "All right then," Raisa gave in. "I'll count out the money tomorrow." "When are we going to the bank?" the daughter asked in a businesslike manner. "Better early in the morning. I have the rubles in the safe," Raisa explained. "I wanted to change the runners on the stairs. I found some good carpeting. I was going to buy it on Tuesday, so I've set aside a considerable sum." "Rubles?" exclaimed Tamara. "Mom, are you kidding me? We need 30,000 euros. "Holy cow!" Raisa couldn't help herself. "What are such huge sums for?" "For a cute little Jeep," explained Tamara. "Japanese-made." "No way!" exclaimed the indignant old woman. "Look, Kolka Mitiev bought a Zhiguli, and it only cost him 50,000 rubles. True, it's not new. I thought Yura also wanted a used car." "Mom!" Tamara hissed. "In Moscow, not even dogs drive a Zhiguli. Your Mitiev is a 100-year-old grandpa. He'd be better off rattling around in a cart pulled by a goat. Put Yerochka in a rattletrap, they'll laugh at him, and the girls will never get in." "Yura needs to think about his studies," Raisa cut her off. "That's it. The topic is closed." There was a noise. I hid behind the bushes. Raisa Andreevna said, 30,000 euros for a piece of crap with wheels," and started walking towards the dacha. "Old bih," swore Tamara, when her mother disappeared from view. Then a characteristic beeping sound was heard. The daughter decided to use her mobile phone. "Yurasha," she said in a cheerful voice, "why are you so glum? Don't sulk. Grandma will give you the money. She's not going anywhere. Verka wheedled a lot of things out of her for her Misha. The old woman rents an apartment for him, I know for sure. I heard Oleg's wife thanking her. The old hag has the greenbacks, and she doesn't keep her dough in an account. She hides it in the house, or has a jar buried on the plot. I'll pressure the bitch. You'll get your car, my sunshine. Rest assured, your mother will try. If the old fool doesn't want to give up the money the easy way, I'll take it myself. The main thing now is to find her stash. You should keep an eye on her. Offer her help, like, 'Dear Grandma, let me dash off with you for the carpet runners. It's hard for you alone.' What do you mean you came here to relax? What other girl? Are her parents oligarchs? Don't be naive. Rich people won't come here. They've flown off to islands or are wandering around Europe. The girl is lying to you. She's from a poor family. Decided to latch on to a well-off guy." Continuing to lecture her offspring, Tamara got up from the bench and walked towards the house. And I lost my desire to pick flowers. I felt sorry for Raisa Andreevna. It seems her children don't love their mother very much. When Zviajina existed on a tiny pension, her offspring, according to the cook Nadezhda, didn't particularly care for her. But as soon as she launched a profitable business, requests for financial assistance began to pour in from the dear children. However, I am wrong. These are more like demands, expressed in an insolent manner. Do you understand now why I didn't want to participate in the general dinner that day? I was simply afraid that at the sight of Raisa's son, daughter, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren, I wouldn't be able to restrain myself and would say something inappropriate, something a guest should never utter.
After what Zvijina told me about the badger raccoon, she constantly initiated conversations about the talking animal. Probably the lady's nervous system had failed, hence the hallucinations. And right now, Raisa Andreevna is hovering under the open window of my bedroom. She is clearly impatient to discuss her problem with Cheslav's employee, but I'm in no mood for whispering. To be honest, I want to lie down peacefully, without thinking about other people's problems, be it an imaginary beaver or a skunk who have decided to harm Zvijina. "Tanechka, are you sleeping?" The landlady made another attempt to call me to the window. I snored diligently. "Well, all right," the landlady said quietly. "Everyone is asleep. I'm the only one with insomnia." Then a quiet rustling was heard. Zvijina moved away from the window. I was glad and decided to close the frame. What if Raisa Andreevna decides to check on my sleep again in 10 minutes? But before I could grab the handle of the window, a tiny, tiny voice reached my ears, the kind that various little animals speak with in cartoons. "You'll die soon! You'll die soon! You only have a little while to live. Catch me, or you'll die!" "You scoundrel!" shouted Raisa. "Now you'll definitely fall into my hands." "You'll die soon. You'll die soon. You only have a little while to live. Catch me, or you'll die," the little voice replied. I turned my head. Am I also going crazy? Or am I hearing the speech of a chipmunk skunk in real life? "You'll die soon. You'll die soon. You only have a little while to live. Catch me, or you'll die," the invisible little animal repeated with a persistence worthy of a better cause. I leaned over the windowsill, trying to see the animal. The night was quiet. Stars shone in the sky. The moon was bright. And I saw Raisa Andreevna who, waving her arms, started running into the depths of the plot. It immediately became clear to me that she intended to catch the harmful animal, and I decided to participate. Unfortunately, my weight does not allow me to quickly jump out of the window, and so, having pulled on a tracksuit and sneakers, I quietly went out through the back door and hurried after Zvijina. The old woman's voice and the muttering of the little animal were no longer heard. I ran to a small post with a sign and became worried. Where could the landlady have gone? Raisa Andreevna carefully maintains the plot. All her paths are covered with smooth asphalt, so smooth that some children roller skate on them. Only a barely visible path leads towards the ravine, and the asphalt ends about 20 meters from the dangerous place. Just in case, Raisa Andreevna installed a sign there with a plaque, "Caution, pit ahead," and of course she did not make a convenient approach to the edge of the quarry. Could Zvijina, disregarding caution, have rushed to the ravine? I shouted, "Raisa Andreevna, where are you? Yoo-hoo! Answer me! It's Tanya!" From the dense bushes to my right, a whisper and the sound of footsteps were heard. "Are you all right?" I was glad. The noise began to move away. I, after hesitating for some time, began to push my way through the rosehip, trying not to get scratched by the thorns. Eventually my legs brought me to a small lawn, completely empty, bathed in the pale light of the moon. A little to the left, the ravine loomed black. I cautiously approached the edge and saw Zviajina's body below, where the stones lay. Raisa Andreevna was lying face up, her arms thrown to the sides. "Are you alive?" I yelled, and without waiting for an answer decided to slide down. But a second later I realized I needed to run for help urgently. Even if I get to the bottom of the deep pit safe and sound, how can I help Raisa Andreevna? I don't have the strength to lift the old woman up. I do not have the necessary medical skills, and wishing to alleviate the landlady's condition, I could harm her. Unfortunately, there are people who rush to the victim of a car accident, turn them over, start doing artificial respiration, and kill the person.
Raisa Andreevna was pulled up only 2 hours later. It was a good thing that among the hotel guests there was a surgeon and a mountaineer. The first determined that Zviajina had a spinal fracture, and the second knew how to lift an immobilized body from a chasm. When the landlady was being carried to the ambulance, she opened her eyes and whispered, "Tanechka." I quickly bent over her. "Don't worry. Everything is fine. The fracture has not immobilized you. You will get well soon. The main thing is not to move now." "It was a squirrel," whispered Zviajina. "Take what's in my fist. I haven't lost my mind." I looked at the old woman's hand. Her palm was clutching a scrap of cloth. "Leave Mom alone!" Tamara shrieked. Oh, what will happen now?" Vera was yelling. Oleg glanced at his wife but said nothing. I discreetly pulled the piece of cloth from Zviajina and slipped it into my pocket. "Mommy is dying," wailed Tamara. "Why do we have such grief?" "Stop it," the doctor ordered. "You're putting on a show here." Tamara covered her face with her hands and began to shake with sobs. Vera threw herself on Oleg's neck. "Mom is dead." He winced, but forced himself to mutter, "Maybe it'll be all right." The student grandsons tried to make sad faces, but they didn't succeed very well. Yura suddenly asked, "Who will manage the hotel now?" Tamara took her palms away from her dry eyes and answered in a businesslike manner. "Me, of course. Mom left me the hotel in her will." The surgeon and the mountaineer exchanged glances, and I couldn't help but exclaim, "Raisa Andreevna is not dead. She will recover." Tamara sulked, took Yura by the arm and hurried to the house, followed by a whining Vera, a displeased Oleg, and a clearly confused Misha. "Did you see that?" Nadezhda Fyodorovna asked with bitterness. "They're already dividing the inheritance. What freaks! Let's go, I'm cold. It's hot during the day but cold at night. I'm completely frozen." I looked at the cook. "But you're in flip-flops and in a cotton housecoat, and you've gotten dirty. Your legs are all covered in mud." "I heard a noise and rushed out," sighed Nadezhda Fyodorovna. "There was no time to doll myself up. I dashed out in what I was wearing." "What's that in your hand?" I looked at the scrap of cloth. Raisa Andreevna gave it to me. She was holding it in her fist. "A skullcap?" Sad Companion was surprised. "A tiny one. It would be too small even for a newborn." Zviajina's words about the raccoon chipmunk dressed in white and red pants and a blue cap came alive in my memory. Obviously, the same memories occurred to Nadezhda Fyodorovna. She said, "Could it be that she really did meet a talking animal? She told me about its outfit more than once. I thought she was having hallucinations." I heard a tiny voice repeating, "You'll die soon. You'll die soon. You only have a little while to live. Catch me or you'll die." I confessed, and Raisa also managed to say that it was a squirrel. "A squirrel?" The cook was surprised. "You mean a live one?" I shrugged. I understand this sounds extremely stupid, but I repeat, I heard a nasty voice and saw the landlady running across the plot. I think she decided to catch the insolent animal and fell into the ravine. Although, what? The cook asked eagerly. I sighed. If a person stumbles on the edge of a cliff and falls down, they should be lying at the bottom face down. Why? Nadezhda Fyodorovna was curious. That's what happens most often, I answered diplomatically. If a person falls from a roof, well, let's say, of a multi-story building, the body can turn over. But falling from a not very high point, Zvyagina could not have landed on her back. However, I saw her in such a position that it allows one to assume she had help, shouted the cook. Raya was facing the scoundrel and he pushed her. That's why my poor friend ended up face up. You are very perceptive, I praised the cook. With a high degree of probability, that is exactly how events unfolded. Do you suspect anyone? Oleg, the cook answered categorically and added, and Yura. He's been asking his grandma for money for a car for a long time. He wanted to drive girls around in a new foreign car. How many times have I heard the grandson begging Raisa for countless thousands, and she refused him? Tamara and Verka are no better. Any of them would fit. And the squirrel, it's from the country of talkers. Whoa, that's it. I saw them in the department store near Kievsky railway station. Nadezhda Fyodorovna grabbed my arm. A big, huge center. Not so long ago I wandered into it out of boredom. I went to Moscow, to the doctor, got free early, hoofed it to the electric train, and there was a break between the trains, so I popped into the glass building. The prices there are staggering. Not for my pocket. Out of curiosity, I went for a walk and stumbled upon a little shop. It's called Country of Talkers. They sell plush toys there. You press some button in the freak's stomach, and it seems to talk. The squirrel is definitely from there. There are a lot of them sitting there, blue caps, white and red pants. When is the first electric train to the capital? I asked immediately. Do you want to buy such a toy for someone? They are expensive, the cook warned me. I don't mind spending money on my beloved nephew, I lied in a flash. After breakfast, I surreptitiously photographed Yura, Misha, Oleg, Vera, and Tamara, and then went to Kievsky railway station, found the Country of Talkers boutique in the huge shopping center, and began to pester the salesman with questions. The guy in a branded T-shirt reacted calmly to my persistence and briefly explained the matter. The little shop sells amusing souvenirs. You can teach a teddy bear or a bunny to pronounce different words. The plush friends can walk, or rather ride, on well-camouflaged wheels in their paws. Naturally, the toy comes with a remote control with which it is operated. They are bought as an original birthday gift not only for kids, but also for adults. A person's voice is processed by a computer and sounds cartoonish, the seller explained. Yesterday we sold a tiger for one oligarch. His subordinates decided to play a prank. They were all making plans here. In the morning, the boss will enter his office, and a tiger will be striding across the carpet, booming, "Most respected Anton Sergeyevich, I wish for you that the index never falls." Well, I'm not a financier. I didn't understand what they were talking about, but it's cool.
Funny, I agreed. But unfortunately, some people have a specific sense of humor. Some might place a bucket of water over the entrance door and then roll with laughter looking at their wet colleague. Or they'll put a squirrel from the Country of Talkers on his desk, which will say, "You'll die soon." Do pranksters like that often come to you? The young man bristled. There are a lot of fools, but you can't, for example, close all the pharmacies just because they sell medicines that someone gets poisoned with, can you? For every 10 normal people, you're bound to get one cretin. We don't hear what the client is recording. We maintain confidentiality. The person goes into a booth and closes the door tightly.
I see, I said. Kind of like in an election. No one knows who the voter chose, but if you try, the secret becomes known. By the way, how is your store with fire safety? If an inspection suddenly shows up, will it find any violations? I hope all the fire extinguishers are in their places, the expiration date has not passed, and the staff is trained to handle the cylinders. The seller blinked. Ask specifically. I took out my mobile and showed the guy the photo. There is a high probability that one of these people bought a squirrel from you in a blue cap and white and red trousers. The toy was muttering a lovely text, "You'll die soon. You'll die soon. You only have a little while to live. Catch me if you don't want to die." The guy behind the counter pointed his finger at the screen. "Whoa! Are you sure?" I frowned. 100%, he confirmed. "Actually, you're right. We do get some crazies here sometimes. They make such recordings. They think they can't be heard, but the door is made of cardboard, you know. Stop staring at me. I'm not breaking any laws. I have all the licenses and certificates. I'm not interested in what people wish each other. So I don't have a fire extinguisher. I'll buy one tomorrow." "You'd better," I said. "I understand you don't feel sorry for the customers, but if a fire breaks out, you could die yourself." The young man put his hands to his heart. "Word of honor. Just don't report us to the fire department." "Sell me that little squirrel over there," I asked, in the blue cap. Having received the toy, I went down to the first floor and came across a stall with magazines and books. My attention was immediately drawn to the publication 1001 Crosswords. The girl, sitting near the stand, instantly understood what I was interested in and began to tempt me. "Take it. There are super crosswords in there. It's the last copy left." "Why is there such a difference in price for your goods?" I was surprised. "That magazine, Garden Without Worries, the one on the left, costs 70 rubles, and the one on the right is 10? The seller began to explain. "The 10-ruble one is a second-hand edition. It's 3 years old. Neat people read the little magazine and bring it back, put it on commission. Everyone benefits from this. Some get part of their money back, others buy reading material cheaply later. It's a pity you can't do that with glossy fashion magazines. Dresses go out of style quickly. But landscape design, gardens, and vegetable patches don't retire. Or look at embroidery. That's a real second-hand rarity, from April 2001. A man brought it in yesterday. He was cleaning out his attic and found a pile of publications. Why throw them away for free? Look, there are beautiful drawings here." The girl took a small notebook and began to flip through it. My attention was drawn to a bright rectangle the size of a postcard glued to the center spread. "What is this?" I asked. The newswoman pointed her finger at the coupon. "A promotion. You answer the questions correctly, and you have a chance to win a trip to the sea." It's a scam. I haven't heard of anyone who went to the islands for free. "I'll take the crosswords and embroidery," I said. "Do you understand that you can't participate in the contest now?" The girl warned me just in case. "It was a one-time promotion, and it was held many years ago. I prefer to earn money for my vacation," I smiled in response. "I don't have the mentality of Amelia. I don't hope for a miracle stove and a magic pike." "I liked the pattern for the tablecloth. It's beautiful," the stallholder approved, putting my purchases into a flimsy little bag. "You've saved money. A new embroidery is expensive." Taking my loot, I hurried to the electric train, and on the way I called first Cheslov, then our computer genius Korobkov, and told him to get some information. Dima didn't let me down. Before I even reached the boarding house, I had received the necessary information and became sad. I'm probably not the best crime fighter. The moment I identify the person who has committed an illegal act, my soul is filled not with the joy of a hunter who has shot a beast, but with pity. Why can't you turn back time? Go up to the person, grab their hand, and say, "Don't do it. You will definitely be caught. But even if you get away with the crime, a couple of years later your conscience will begin to torment you. Money obtained dishonestly never brings happiness." Somewhere around 6 in the evening, I entered the large living room where Raisa Andreevna's children and grandchildren were having some kind of conversation, and said, "Hello, am I interrupting?" Tamara blinked several times and declared, "To be honest, very much so. We're having a family council. By the way, there's an empty room in the hotel. Do you want to be moved there?" I sat down in an armchair without being invited. "I'm leaving today, but first I'll tell you something." "We don't have time to chat." Vera was indignant. "Raisa Andreevna got sick. She left us the business. We have a lot of worries. Zvyagina is not dead." I stopped her. "A spinal injury is dangerous. At your mother-in-law's age, it is doubly dangerous, but Raisa will pull through. She was lucky that I came to her aid right away. There was a mistake." "By whom?" Tamara got nervous. "And here's the tea," said Nadezhda Fyodorovna, bringing a tray into the room. "Get out immediately!" Oleg barked. "The last thing we needed was the help. No, let her stay," I ordered. "Who gave you the right to give orders here?" Tamara was outraged. I took my ID out of my pocket. "My boss is an old friend of Raisa's. It's no coincidence that he sent me on vacation to the hotel. And Nadezhda Fyodorovna is a witness to the crime. Zvyagina was the target of an attempted murder." The cook gasped and sat down on the sofa. Tamara, Oleg, Vera, and Yura, with Misha, stared at me, and I calmly continued. "When Raisa Andreevna told me about the chipmunk raccoon, I thought, the elderly lady has started to have age-related changes in her brain. I assume that the same thoughts occurred to everyone to whom the landlady told about her conversations with the skunk hamster. Isn't that right, Nadezhda Fyodorovna?" The cook nodded. "People thought that Zvyagina was, well, excuse me, off her rocker." I stopped her with a gesture. "That's why no one would have been surprised to find the pensioner's body at the bottom of the ravine. Look, I'll show you a trick." I stood up, opened the door to the corridor a little, took the remote out of my pocket and pressed the button. A squirrel rolled into the living room and squeaked desperately. "Who killed Raisa? He's here, here, here!" Tamara turned pale. Yura and Misha recoiled. Vera grabbed her husband's arm. Oleg pulled his hand away and almost pushed his wife away. "Cool, right?" I exclaimed. "Meet the squirrel from the country of talkers." This is the kind of thing Raisa Andreevna kept running into. All the paths in the garden are asphalted. Someone was standing in the bushes and controlling the toy, which the pensioner thought was a raccoon beaver, a guinea pig. The criminal was deliberately stalling for time, waiting for Raisa to tell as many people as possible about the talking little animal. The scoundrel calculated everything correctly. Zvyagina would run after the offender, fall into the ravine, and there would be witnesses who would say, "The old woman was having hallucinations. She probably hurried after one of her glitches and fell." But then, as luck would have it, I ended up at the scene of the incident, and Raisa Andreevna was rescued in time. So who is the director of this play? Each of you had a motive for killing Raisa. Tamara adores Yura. He dreams of an expensive foreign car, and the nasty old woman was in no hurry to give him 30,000 euros. Vera wanted to buy jewelry and furs, but Oleg earns little. Misha has long been in love with a girl, but he can't live with her. It all comes down to the lack of money again. Raisa's death is a great stroke of luck for you. And now, my dear little squirrel, show us who bought you." Obeying the remote, the toy rolled up to Oleg and squeaked, You, only you." Zvyagina's son jumped up. "You shouldn't lie," I warned him. "The seller identified you." Oleg yelled, "Yes, I bought it, and I recorded this text. She got on my nerves. She was sitting on her money, didn't give us a penny, just lectured us. But I didn't want to kill my mother."
I just decided to play a joke. I teased her a couple of times. And then the squirrel disappeared. I have no idea where it is now." "Oleg," Tamara whispered, "how could you?" "Don't show off," her brother yelled. "You yourself dreamed of getting rid of Mom. Don't pretend to be a saint here. And I repeat, the squirrel is gone. If someone used the toy to lure my mother into the ravine, it was a thief who did it." "He's lying," Nadezhda Fyodorovna shouted. "The squirrel is hidden under his bed. There's a box there."
Oleg rushed into the corridor. We ran after him, and a couple of minutes later we saw the toy, lying where the cook had indicated. "It was gone," Oleg said in a trembling voice, "and now it has suddenly reappeared." "A poltergeist put it back," Yura remarked sarcastically. "Sit down," I asked, and turned to the cook, taking the embroidery magazine out of the bag. "What is this?" "Stop asking riddles," Vera yelled. "Oleg is not guilty. He just wanted to play a joke." I said, "A great pastime. It's fun to drive your mother to madness. But here's a new story for you. Raisa Andreevna, telling me about her friends whom she hired to work at the hotel, mentioned that Nadezhda Fyodorovna leaves the village for 3 days once a month. Zviadrina didn't like it very much, but since the cook was going to the doctor, Raisa didn't make any remarks to her old friend. Zviadrina felt sorry for her. Nadezhda Fyodorovna has a son, Ilya, who has successfully settled in the USA. He lives in Miami, is married to an American woman, has his own house on the coast. But here's the strange thing. The guy doesn't visit, doesn't send his mother gifts, doesn't invite her to visit. Nadia is not offended. She carries a photo of her son, daughter-in-law, and grandson in her wallet and shows this picture to everyone. There is nothing strange about that. But here is the embroidery magazine, very old. It's impossible to find it on sale now. Inside the publication, there is a coupon for a trip lottery. It is decorated with a photo of a happy married couple and a baby. "Nadezhda, this is your son." The cook flinched, and I said, "The thought came to my mind. What if Ilya never crossed the U.S. border? And once a month Nadezhda Fyodorovna goes not to the doctor for injections. She has another reason for her trip to the city." So I asked our employee Dima to make inquiries. It turned out the following. Ilya Andreevich Bogatov is serving a sentence in a penal colony for murder. The mother did not abandon her son in his trouble. She supplies him with food, but she is unable to confess her shame to her fellow villagers. Nadezhda Fyodorovna is afraid of gossip, and in order to avoid unnecessary questions about Ilya, she invents a fairy tale about America. And, for persuasiveness, demonstrates a photo cut out of a magazine. A stupid story, but the villagers believed it. When did Raisa find out the truth? When did she realize that the American dresses, allegedly sent to you by your loving son from Miami, you bought at a second-hand store? I don't know who whispered it to her. But last month she said, "Stop feeding the murderer with condensed milk. It's not good to spend all the money on the scoundrel, although he is your son, and it's up to you to decide. But I will no longer indulge you and cook for 3 days a month, Nadezhda." "And you were afraid that Raisa would blab," I picked up. "Did you see how Oleg was teasing his mother?" "Yes," the cook whispered. "And you decided to use his idea," I continued. "You took the squirrel, lured Raisa into the ravine, and then put the toy back in its place. An excellent plan. You didn't buy the plush monster. Oleg is up to his ears in debt, and he has a greedy wife. Who benefits from Zviagina's death? Obviously her heirs, not the cook, who won't get a penny from the will." "How did you guess?" Tamara yelled. I pointed to Nadezhda's legs in thick stockings. It's hot May now, but why isn't she barefoot? Because she got hurt running away from the crime scene through the bushes. On the day Raisa fell into the ravine, I noticed dark spots on the cook's legs, but I decided that Nadezhda had gotten dirty. Then I accidentally came across the magazine, remembered that there had been no rain in recent days, there was no mud. And Nadezhda Fyodorovna was trying so hard. She told me about the country of talkers, described the landlady's children in the worst possible way, and led us to the squirrel hidden under Oleg's bed. She practically shoved everyone's noses in it. "My God, how lucky I am that you were at the dacha," Oleg whispered. "Believe me, I didn't want to harm my mother. I just, well, played a joke. And I didn't intend to kill Raya," Nadezhda sobbed. "I thought she would break her leg or arm. I would take care of her, and in gratitude she would keep quiet about Ilya. What a disgrace to have a son in a penal colony. You wouldn't understand. And besides, you have no evidence against me." "Raisa is alive," I reminded her. "She will soon be able to tell who pushed her into the ravine." "You fool," Tamara snorted. "Look at yourselves," the cook shrieked. "You're bitches, not children." I silently listened to the unpleasant remarks that the participants of the events were exchanging, and remained seated when Cheslov entered the room with two gloomy men in police uniforms. "If you, in the hope of keeping your secret, decide to take another person's life, remember, all secrets inevitably become known. There are always traces left, and there will be people who can see them."